Hello and welcome to Transcendental Transformation, the place where spirituality and transformation unite. Host Miss Raina imparts truth so that you can break through your limiting beliefs and evolve into a deeper consciousness. As you go about your day, remember, before every breakthrough, there is a breakdown. And now, let's start the show.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Transcendental Transformation. I'm your host, Miss Raina, and today is Tuesday, May 9th, 2017. First, I want to welcome all our new listeners to this new platform, and I want to personally thank W4CY Radio and iHeartRadio for this wonderful new opportunity, and in hopes that our radio show gets taken to new levels. If you're new to this show, I want to welcome you and hope that you become one of our special loyal listeners. I want to first introduce myself. I'm Miss Raina. I am a soul sage and a spirit guide. I have worked with 7 master guides, 2 of which you will constantly hear throughout the show, Lori and Makrana, and I am the guide of truth. I have taught my entire life of spirituality and helping people with their emotions and have developed a program called Transcendental Development and Growth. I hold a master's degree and 3 bachelor's degree in Oriental medicine and alternative medicine. One thing about this show is I will always be honest with you guys. If you're new to this show, my old listeners will let you know that that this show is about truth, and I will always be honest. I will share my life in hopes of teaching everybody, and that's the way we learn, right? We learn through personal experiences. We learn through ourselves and through teaching others. But my whole goal is to bring a new philosophy to life, to bring a new philosophy to the mind, and to teach people how to master their lives through their emotions. I will say that through this show, I will challenge you. I will challenge your beliefs, and I will teach you why your life is the way it is. Have you ever sat there and wondered why, some of the things, some of the challenges we have in our life are the way they are? Some of the problems, some of the chaos that we have in your life? Well, if you stay tuned to this show, we will help you figure that out, because sometimes we're not given a manuscript. We're not given any type of information, and we're just kind of put into this world and say, hey, what do we do? What's going on? And we really try our best. I understand that a lot of you are really sitting there like trying to be a little lost, but I want to challenge you, and I want you to keep an open mind. I don't expect you guys to understand or to agree or accept everything I say, and that's okay. I want you guys to keep open mind, as I just said. I want you guys to try these new ideas. At first, a lot of them are going to seem really funny. The concepts are going to seem a little challenging, and you might not know where I'm coming from, but I promise you, they are all for a purpose. So the only way we can grow is with an open mind. The only way we can grow is by trying new things. So that's my biggest challenge for you. That's my biggest thing that I want you guys for listening to this show, is I don't want you to just automatically agree with me. I don't want you to automatically accept things that I say. And we're going to understand that a little bit later in the show. But I want you to just, like I said, keep an open mind, keep an open source, and just see how it goes. And then we're going to learn some tips and tricks to kind of apply these things in our life and see how it goes. With that being said, I want to make sure that you guys enjoy the show. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to write in. We have the live chat going on, and let's start the show. Tonight's show is the universal laws of truth and belief. Have you ever wondered what's stopping you from achieving your balance? Or are you one of those that want to understand your own personal truth and how it can help you achieve your success? It seems like we're always chasing success and balance, isn't it? Those are 2 big topics that seem to be, very prevalent here in the United States. Success and balance. If you're a spiritualist, it's all about balance. And if you're in business, it's all about success. And what about the 2? Sometimes we mix those in. And a lot of times, me growing up personally, we were taught that, if you want to achieve balance, the success has to come at a different thing. And you can't, money, values, all this monetary stuff, and it kind of confuses us. success. And the American society seems to be obsessed with this. We all want success. We all want the balance. Everyone's trying to top each other in hopes that we can attain the balance that we're looking for, or that we can attain the peace, the inner peace that we're looking for. So, but can personal success bring balance, or can balance bring success? The first thing I want to take us look at is, what is success? What is balance? What does it look like for you guys? What absolutely is success to you guys? What is the definition? If you were to have success in your life, if you were to have balance in your life, what does it look like? When I ask people, because, I've done a lot of helping with people, but when I ask people this question, I say, what is success for you? And most people will say, well, it's making money. It's it's having the career, it's reaching all these people, it's having nice stuff, fancy clothes, it's having food on the table and a nice house with a nice car and a family and kids. Man, yeah, that does sound pretty good, doesn't it? But if I ask you what balance is, then a lot of people will say, well, it's happiness all the time. It's me being happy. It's me being joyful. It's me having gratitude. It's me not being bothered by the world, me not being angry at the world, having inner peace, and living life without emotions. And this is the first thing that you have to do with anything in your life. The first thing you have to ask yourself is, what is it I'm looking for? Because if you're trying to chase these ideas of success and balance, how will you know if you get it? How will you learn to figure something out, to understand if I have reached success, if I have reached balance, or if you have achieved it, how do you know how to maintain it? To me, success and balance is achieving self-love. It's achieving self-worth. It's challenging myself to be the best I can be. It's challenging my fears. It's facing my fears, facing the things that I'm not sure I can do, facing the things that, maybe I haven't been the best at. Maybe I faltered a couple times here and there, and then challenging myself to see if I can go past those challenges. And it's also sharing kindness and compassion with the world. And you know what? I get it, people. I have traveled this country and I've lived in many states, and as a lot of our old listeners will adhere to this, Florida has been a big challenge for me. It has been one of the toughest states to live in. There's a lot of money down here, and a lot of people adhere to money. And And the thing that I find out is that, success, a lot of people will say that success will bring in balance. Well, if I have the car, if I have the boyfriend, if I have the girlfriend, if I have this, then that's going to bring me my happiness. This is what's going to bring me to that level that I want to reach. But we lose ourselves a little bit because we forget to share kindness and compassion with each other. We forget to share understanding with each other. And we're so adamant about reaching our goals that everything else goes to the waistline. I run into people like this all the time that are good-hearted people that are just seem to be lost, that just seem to be chasing their tail because they don't know what they're chasing. They don't know what it is they want to achieve. But really, success and balance really depend on personal truth and the belief system. And herein lies the problem, doesn't it? What if I told you guys that 99% of what we believe and what we believe our personal truths are have actually been told to us and conditioned to us to make it seem like those are our own beliefs? Would that be a challenge for you? Would that be tough for you? Do you instantly reject that? Or do you instantly say, no, Miss Raina, you're wrong. You don't know. What I believe is I believe, and I know this is true. But if you study psychology, if you're into that kind of thing, I am. I love studying people. The one thing I've noticed is we are conditioned to ideas. We are conditioned to beliefs. We are conditioned to these false ideas of personal truth. And when you look at the idea of who you are and where you're going and what your idea of success, what your idea of balance is, it's all based upon these beliefs. And so what you think is true is actually somebody else's beliefs. And I know for a lot of you, especially listening to this first time, you're going to sit there and say, what are you talking about? There's no way that's true. And let me tell you something. The first time I came to that conclusion too, I fought it too. I was raised Catholic. I was raised Republican. My parents were wonderful, but I had a very tight, strict house. A lot of beliefs were put on me. And then, of course, Laura and Makrana were like, no, no, Miss Raina, this is not. You have to expand. You have to think deeper. Don't buy into the human belief system because it will limit you. And I sat there and I'm thinking, well, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Well, I'm being taught that this is this, and so it has to be this because everyone believes it. Well, when I started to explore myself, when I started to grow, when I started to get out of my shell, and because I was very miserable, because as we're going to talk about later, as our belief systems keep us there. And when I sat there and I was like, well, this is what I believe, this is what's true to me, I felt miserable. I felt like I was locked into a life. I felt like I couldn't breathe. And a lot of you know that I have had social anxiety my whole life. You guys know that I'm dyslexic, and so I've had a lot of personal challenges to overcome, things that I face, things that I choose to go past to build my own success. But when it comes to our beliefs, when I sat there and realized that mostly everything we believe, everything we think is true, is nothing more than something that someone created as a way to figure out life, well, that shatters the boundaries. And what kind of boundaries do we have? It makes us feel lost. I mean, where do the boundaries, where do the rules go? What happens now if everything we know, if everything we think we know is just been created to create chaos in our life, then what is it that we do? And I know some of you are instantly rejecting what I say right now, and I don't blame you. I was there. This is something that is the ego. This is something that the ego rejects and hopes that it holds on to the belief system. This is something that the mind tries to play because it tells you, if I believe in this, if I have these ideas of success and balance, if I have these belief systems, if I have these personal truths, then I know who I am. But if they're taken away from me, then again, what am I? Who am I? Where do I go from that? And that shows our social conditioning. That shows what has been taught to us is what we believe. So, some of you, if some of you may be thinking, well, maybe Miss Raina has a point. Maybe she has a point, and I don't know, but I'm not going to reject that. You know what? That shows the capability of learning and growth. It's hard to accept new ideas. It's hard to accept new philosophies in life, especially when our mind works in patterns. If you listen to the old show, and you know that I talk about patterns of the mind and neural pathways and everything going on, and our mind works in pathways, and it fires the neurons. It fires that into those patterns so that we stay comfortable into those. And so when those have to be changed, our mind gets disrupted. And a lot of times when that becomes disrupted, we become emotional. We become fearful. We become that because the mind is going, wait a minute. This is not the path that I've drawn. This is not the path that I've wrote 1,000,000 times. What is it that I'm doing? What is it that's going on? And this is the reason why that at least if you say, well, maybe she has a point, or even if you thought, let's reject it right away, but then, well, let's take a moment, let's take a step back, and maybe she has a point, then you know what? Then this show is going to be for you, because this is going to start you on a path of growth and learning. Because when we blindly accept or reject an idea without investigating it, that's very dangerous. Anybody will tell you, well, what's one of the things that people always say, any smart person will always say, you should always question everything that's told to you. You should always question everything that you read. Even me, I want you to question me. I don't want you to believe me just because I have a show or just because I've done a lot of public speaking. I want you to question me and go out and say, you know what? I'm not going to try to prove Miss Raina right or wrong. I'm just going to go out and try these and see if they fit for me. And you know what? You may have to adjust these ideas a little bit to fit your life. And that's perfectly okay. But when we blindly accept something, it's very dangerous, because that means we are attaching ourselves to an idea to give us value from an external source. When we reject something, that means that we have the idea of, I don't want to learn because these attachments give me who we are. And how many of us are stuck in these ideas of success and balance and personal truth and beliefs and live a chaotic life every day? How many of us have relationships that suffer? How many of us that have friendships that suffer, that we seem to repeat the same friendships over and over? And I look at it, and you know what? I was one of those people too. When I was younger, especially in my teen years, man, and when I was going through a lot of things, whether or not, trying to figure out who I was and what my sexuality was and everything, I looked at that and I was like, and I was so confused because I had all these laws, all these ideas telling me who I was, what I should feel, what I should do. And it just left me chaotic. It left me in pain. And as I tried to abide by these laws, I was walking on a line, and I was afraid to fall. If the wind blew me left, I was going down. If the wind blew me right, I was going down. And what kind of way is that for us to live? It's not. And this leads to so many unfiltered raw emotions. How many of us are just angry all the time? I know this world. If you guys know I look on my social media all the time, and I really don't like social media at all. But I have to be on that, and I look, and all I see is anger. All I see is pain. All I see is people trying to post their beliefs as a way of creating this balance, as a way of creating their success. And it's raw, and it's unfiltered, and it's nasty. And you know that we used to talk about when the election came out, because this show is not political at all. But look at what happened. Look at how just two people brought out the chaotic emotions because they based their values on whether or not who was going to be the winner. And these are the ideas that I'm talking about. If you base your ideas of success and balance on other people, you're always going to find chaos. If you reject an idea based upon an external validation, you're always going to find chaos. And so you're going to have to sit there and take a step back and resolve those emotions. And that in itself is another challenge. And we're going to get to that in other shows and everything like that. But, it's one of those things where we have to stop and take a step back and say, what is it I want in my life? What is it that I want? What does success look at me? What does balance look at me? How can I find success? How can I find balance? So if I ask you, can you find success through anger? Can you find success through judgment? Can you find success through refusing to learn new ideas? You can't. You have to stay open. You have to change. You have to transform. You have to go as you get older, as things change, your ideas change. So why do these laws that hold to our heads still stay constant, even though our evolution of our spiritual growth is changing? How can something that existed 4,000, 5,000 years ago hold true today? It's challenging to us, but yet we try to live our lives by these ideas that what we thought back then may not be what we think now. I was talking to my protege the other night, and we were sitting there, and he's like, well, but shouldn't, because he wants to learn healing modalities. And I said, okay, well, I'll teach you, and that's no problem. I have no problem teaching you that. You're probably ready now. We've been working together for about 2 years, 3 years now, and so he's like, well, shouldn't these, we were talking about how healing, these modalities came about long time ago. And he's like, well, shouldn't they hold true today? I was like, well, think about it. Do you wear the same clothes as you did when you were 2 years old? He's like, no. I was like, well, why not? He's like, well, because I've grown. I was like, okay, do you think the same way? Do you still play with toys now that you're 21 years old? No. Well, why not? Because I've grown. I was like, so do you still hold the same ideals that you do when you were a child? Well, no, I don't. Well, why not? Because I've grown. So why do we hold the same ideals towards everything else? It's because we have been conditioned to these ideals. It is because through our anger, through our judgment, through our refusal to learn, we truly believe that success and balance is going to come to us. We refuse to learn new ideas because we are so afraid that this anger that we're holding on to, once we lose it, once we lose the judgment, then what's left? It's like almost being stripped of your clothes and shoved out of the door naked and not knowing what to do with yourself. Because like I said at the beginning of the show, we have no owner's manual. We don't know what to do. And we have to take a step back. It's one of the greatest of human errors just to accept whatever we hear. And I'm guilty of it. I'm going to be the first to say that I am guilty. When I was younger, I was so gullible, so naive. I would just believe whatever is told to me because we trust the adults. We haven't been into the world yet. When you're a child, you're not into the world. You don't understand that people lie, people cheat, people steal. You don't understand, yes, is honest people. There are people that are caring and nurturing and stuff, but you don't know how to determine that. So you just blindly trust whatever's said. And because people use force, people use fear to tell you, if you don't believe this is going to happen to you, we succumb to their ideas because of their fears, and then they become ours. And that's what the greatest error is. We just accept it. And I'm one of those people that I refuse to accept what is told to me until I know that I've seen all the evidence. If I've seen 10,000 studies on, like, as you guys know, I have degrees in Oriental and alternative medicine, but until I've seen 10,000 studies on something that are, that are double-blind placebos and non-funded by any corporations or anything, then I'm going to, and even then, even the facts then, I still keep an open mind because things change. Humanity changes. The body changes. I mean, things that we were able to digest, 1,000 years ago, we can't do today. That's why we're having such an epidemic with meat and everything, and all these food and all these processes. But, those type of ideas that we just accept, are the things that hurt our souls, that are the things that stop us. And what we often accept stop us from that peaceful, loving life that we want. What we accept stops us from our successful life. And that's the type of things that we have to look at. That's the type of things that we have to say, well, what is it that stops me? What is it that I sit there and I said, well, what are my blocks? What are my beliefs? What are my successes? If I can't get to the things that I want to, and I know this is what my success looks like, this is what my balance looks like. If I know these type of things, these type of ideas are in my life, but yet they're still so far, then what is it that's stopping me? And obviously the answer is yes, that's absolutely. But what is it that's going on in your life that's stopping you from this? Because there's something in your mind and there's something in your heart that's taking control of you and saying, hey, wait a minute. No, you can't do that. I talk about the victim all the time. You new listeners will hear me. I talk about the victim and the survivor part of the ego. And the victim stops you from ever being successful in any area of your life. That's why we have the dysfunctional relationships with, romantic, personal, and all sorts of things. That's why we bounce from job to job. That's why we're miserable all the time and we're constantly moving around, is because the victim controls that. And even with one of my students today, we were talking about the victim and how it holds. I mean, my student was like, wow, this idea from the time I was 3 years old is still holding on to me, and I'm judging everyone, I'm angry at everyone, and I'm afraid of everyone because of this very ideal, because of this idea. And one of the things that this person came to me for was because they weren't successful in life. And I said, well, okay, let's take it out. Now that we're breaking down everything, now that we're understanding, we haven't even got to the definitions of what success and balance is for that person because it's not necessary yet. I care more about what's stopping us. What are we instantly accepting? What is it in our life that we are still holding true to our mind? What is it that's true to our heart? We'll be right back after these messages from the Life of Raina.
A message from the Life of Raina. We live in a world faced with many tough challenges. Our lives become chaotic and filled with disaster ever so quickly, most of the time before we even realize. Our issues beat down our mental mindset, and an imbalance of emotions become prevalent. The Life of Raina is dedicated to helping people on the deepest spiritual level. Miss Raina, the creator of Transcendental Development and Growth, works on your core issues and finds the solutions which allow you to break free from the emotional bondages of life, helping you achieve the life you've always wanted to live. Isn't it time that you lived life for you? Call the Life of Raina, 561-846-2190, and schedule your appointment today. That's 561-846-2190. Or email thelifeofraina@icloud.com.
Okay, let's take a step different. Let's move in a different direction. Let's first talk about the belief systems. And as I've said already, that our belief systems cause us the most chaos, right? In an effort to figure out who we are, as I said, we reject or accept these ideas, and those ideas are going to bring us some form of success. But isn't it funny how those ideas, if these ideas bring us the success, and these ideas and these belief systems bring us those happiness, then why are we fighting all the time? Why is it all the time anyone with a different belief system, anyone with a different idea, anyone with a different political view, why is it that our belief systems tear us apart? If these ideas are set to make us peaceful, if these ideas are supposed to bring us balance and success, then why do you fight with someone with a different belief system? Why do you fight with somebody with a different way? I look at it all the time. I mean, I get tired. If I didn't have a business, I would not be on social media, because I go on there for business and I would love to share my life, and I try to inspire people, and you guys will hear about my accident in time and everything and how I recovered from that. But all I see is people fighting, and to the point where a lot of times it gets to the point where I just, I want to pay someone just to post my stuff, and I kind of do already, just to post it, because I don't want to go on there. Why? Because we're fighting all the time. I see all the time that, we hear cops, society versus cops, red versus blue, Catholics versus lesbians and gays, and all these different things. And neither are winners. Neither are any better than the others. If you don't believe what I believe, then I'm going to fight with you. If you don't believe what I believe, then I'm going to show you hatred. I'm going to show you anger. And a lot of times, what ends up happening when we lose control of ourselves? What is it that we lose control of the most? When we let ourselves go, when we let our mind snap, a lot of times it resorts to violence. And that's when the extreme happens. And unfortunately, I'm so glad that at least a lot of the people that I see promoting the anger and the hate and the name calling and stuff haven't gone to that extreme. But sometimes I wonder what's the tipping point. If everyone's fighting, because honestly, a lot of times, even my students say, Miss Raina, when I go on social media, or when I go on it, you're the only one that tries to post anything that says, love each other, share kindness, do this, do that. And you're always posting your quotes and your sayings. And everybody else is like, well, if you like Donald Trump, blah, blah, if you like Clinton, if you don't believe in Jesus, if you don't do this, if you don't like this, and you don't wear my shirt that I wear, then you're not part of me. And they delete you, they hate you, they didn't talk to you, they kick you out of the club, they do all sorts of things. And this is ridiculous. This has to change. If your belief system is so valuable, if your belief system is supposed to create love and peace and kindness and success and balance, then what is wrong? Where is the miscommunication in the brain and the heart? Because obviously the brain is not communicating with the heart, because if these ideas say, share kindness, share compassion, share understanding. Those are the three things that I teach. I've moved away from all forms of spirituality, or at least formal things of spirituality, because everything has their limitations. The more you grow, the more you are going to see the world for what it is, and that's limitations. And the key to that, the key to finding your success, the key to finding your balance, is finding those limitations and moving away from them. But you're not going to do that through anger and hatred. You're not going to do that by hurting people. You're not going to do that with anger and violence. That's why you'll hear me say this 1,000 times, and I tell this to every one of my students. I've said this before. One of my sayings is, never believe in anything but yourself. And I know for a lot of you, you're going to roll your eyes and be like, what? What do you mean, don't believe in anything but myself? I have to believe in stuff. I have to believe in these things because that's what makes me me. Well, no, that's what's keeping you into that mode. The reason why I say never believe, before I say that, let's ask ourselves, why would I say never believe in anything but yourself? Think about that saying, never believe in anything but yourself. What is the only true constant in the world, in your life? And that would be you. That's the only true constant. Everything else changes. Everything else fluctuates. Nothing is guaranteed. The only thing is you're going to wake up with you every single day. Hey, from the time you're born to the time you go back home, you are with you, and you are with your thoughts. You are with your feelings. You are in that skin, love it or hate it. That is who you are. And it's that disbelief in you and that belief in all these ideas that's creating the failure that you believe that you're in. I don't like the word failure. I don't even believe in the word failure because I don't believe in anything but myself. When it comes to everything, sure, I get a little nervous at times when I'm first doing something, when I'm not familiar, whatever, but I still have the confidence in who I am, and I believe in myself wholeheartedly that I can do anything I want. And that's what makes me successful. That's what brings me to that next level. That's what keeps me going. Even when everyone else has said, Miss Raina, you're full of it. You don't know what you're talking about. You do this, blah, 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 all these other things. The one thing that Lori told me was that just always believe in yourself. Always. And I sat there and I looked at it and I said, well, yeah, that's hard, but I got to have others that believed in me too. And that was the tricky mind of success. That was the tricky part of the balance, is that my mind was trying to find its success through other people. And so if I had people, if I had students, if I had all these people listening to me, then I was successful. And I had that balance because it was happy. Oh, look at all these people listening to me. And my ego was feeding, my ego was going. And I was like, what is she talking about? I don't understand this. And let me tell you something. I got frustrated. I used to get so frustrated at Lori and Mark that sometimes I would just be like, that's it. I quit. I'm done. I don't care about success. I don't care about balance. I don't care that I'm a spirit guide. I don't care that I'm supposed to help people. I'm just done. And it was that whole mindset of switching my mind to my heart and believing myself, to find my self-worth, to find my self-love, to find my compassion within myself, to accept every part of me and realize that success and balance and all these ideas have nothing to do with anybody else but me. And so when I say it like that, I'm like, well, yeah, I shouldn't be like, when I believed in this, it created chaos, it created anger, it created judgment. When I believed in this, it created anger, it created chaos, it created confusion. When I believed in this, I judged others. If I had morals and values that were told to me, well, if you do this and I don't believe in that, then I'm judging you. And I said, everything leads to chaos. What is the one thing that I have that doesn't lead to chaos? And that was me. My self-confidence, my self-worth, my self-love. And when I found that and I realized it, let me tell you, I took off. You should always share understanding with others. You should always share compassion with others. You should always share kindness with others. But when you release your beliefs, you release your judgment. And I'm going to say that again because I really want that to sink in. I really want that to go to the heart. When you release your beliefs, you release your judgment. If you don't agree with me right now, that's okay. I understand because I was there. But I will challenge you. As I told you, I will challenge you constantly. And I want to challenge you here. Take your beliefs and take every time you get mad at somebody, every time you judge somebody, every time you laugh at somebody, or every time someone laughs at you or judges you, what is it over? It's over what they think, right? What they think is right and wrong, good and bad, positive and negative, backwards, forwards, better, worse. And you people have just heard Miss Raina's 5 no-nos. If you can walk away from my 5 no-nos, and we will go over that later in the show and many, many other shows, I repeat things over and over. But when you can understand to walk away from your beliefs and walk away from the judgments, because I'm not judging you whether your life is right to me or wrong to me. I'm not judging whether a situation is positive or negative. I'm not judging whether or not it's backwards or forwards or better or worse. I'm just looking at you and accepting you for who you are. So let's change gears again. What's the difference between personal truth and beliefs? How do we figure that out? What is it that we have to do to figure that out? Well, for one, our personal truth doesn't create judgment. If you are judging somebody else or yourself, because personal judgment is just as bad as judging somebody else, if you create that idea, if you create that, it is not personal truth, it is belief. Because personal truth deals with you and your truth. That's why it's called your personal truth, because it's not an idea that somebody told you. It's not something that somebody gave you. It's not a belief that you created due to an experience to survive in life. It deals with your personal truth. So it doesn't deal with our beliefs. It doesn't, what you think to be true are things like, gods, goddesses, religion, spirituality, politics, karma, good, bad, right, wrong. Like I just said, my 5 no-nos, right? But what it does mean is, who are you truly? Who are you? Who are you? What brings you into alignment? What brings your soul? What brings your self-worth up? What brings your self-confidence? What tickles your soul? What is it that makes you light up when you reach your personal truth? And that's very difficult, because I got to tell you, and mostly everybody associates their personal truth with belief systems. It's very confusing, and this step is very difficult, and you need to make sure that you have so many patience with you, that you have understanding, that you have compassion, because you will bounce back and forth. It's almost, it's almost like a little tennis match with your head and heart. It's like your head says no, your heart says yes, and it goes back and forth and back and forth. And a lot of times, like I told you a few minutes ago, sometimes you throw your hands up in the air and say, that's it, I'm done. You can have it. You can have everything. I'm just going to go back to the way I was. But once you light that fire, once you open that door to true success, once you open that door to true balance, true personal truth, you can't close it, and you don't want to. No matter how many times I wanted to give up, no matter how many times I was like, I'm done. And I would throw a fit. I would throw my little hissy fit. The next day I'd wake up and say, okay, let's do it again. Beat me some more. Do what you have to do, so to challenge me, so that I'm able to grow, that I'm able, because if this is my role later in life, is to teach people to touch their hearts, to touch their minds in a way that they've never touched, so that they think, that they ponder, that they grow, even in their judgment towards me, then I need to go through this, because the only way I can teach someone about something is if I know it. And that's why I'm always honest with you. That's why I'm always going to share who I am, what I'm about, my experiences, and I'm always going to tell you the truth. Is because when you find that out, when you know that about me, and that it opens up a door within everybody else. You want to help people heal? Then be yourself. You want to help people grow? Then be yourself. And you can't allow all these ideas to hold power over you. I've had many students over the time sit there and say, well, I'm afraid to put things down in paper. I even had a student that refused. One of the things in my program is journaling, and there's a specific way I want it. And they're like, no, I can't put that in, because once it's in writing, if someone finds it, they're going to use it against you. And I looked at him and I said, what power that thought has over you. Wow, look at the power. Somebody put their fear into you, that if they put it, and you know what? Hey, I put my life on a radio show. I put my life on a blog, on a website, everything. Almost to the point sometimes I have no shame. And that's what gives me power. I don't give an idea power. I give me power, and you need to switch that. And so any idea that you have that's power over you, you have to learn to switch around. And that's what will help you find your personal truth. So in life, it teaches us, to live by a standard code. You have to believe in this. You have to say this. You have to act this way. And that strangles you. As long as you constantly, if you're searching for these ideas, if you're searching for these ideas of peace and balance and harmony and all this, fluff and buff, and you're held to the ideas, well, I can't say this, I can't wear this, I can't act this way, I can't do this, you will be miserable. You will always be miserable, and you will always be out of alignment, because what your soul is trying to do is find your truth. Each life, we're trying to find out who we are. That's why we play so many characters. That's why we have so many lifetimes, because we have all these ideas that are coming in. And each lifetime, we have to refine who we are. We have to refine what makes us successful, what brings us into balance, what brings us all into these things. But we're trying to achieve balance through our lives. We're trying to achieve through our judgments and our deceptions. And as the stronger our belief systems are, the more chaos and judgment we live in. The more in tune to our personal truth is, the less chaos we have. So what's the smartest thing we can do? Well, as I already said, we've already said this, to question everything. Question everything you think. Question everything you believe, hear, and value. Even the things we value. Find the personal truth. To find your own personal truth, you must ask yourself, minus what was taught to me, what's true to my soul that isn't a belief? And as I said before, because I like to repeat myself, you know that already, is that we have to figure out what's true to me that isn't a belief. What nourishes my soul? What gives my soul love? What gives me my love? What gives me that stuff? Because obviously, like I said, if your belief system, if your judgment, if you're going out in the world and being angry, if you're going out in the world and hating, if you're finding that in business, in every area of your life, you're coming up as what you call a failure or unsuccessful, then you're stuck in that idea of belief. One of the biggest things that I see with people today, and I know a lot of you will hear this, and some of you I may upset right now, and I apologize, but I'm truthful, is one of the biggest things that I hear is the people that claim to be awake. I see this all the time, the awake people, and the awake people fight with anger, judgment, and righteousness, like they know something. They put you down because you're dumb, you're an idiot, you don't know what they know, and because you don't understand something that they now understand, they call you names. I see people call, one of the most popular names I see all the time is the word sheeple. Come on, wake up, sheeple. Hurry up, sheeple. Come on, wake up. You don't get this. You don't get this. Wake up. You're just not there. Well, I want to tell you awake people something. If you're truly awake, then you're not going to judge someone. You're not going to fight with anger. If you're fighting with anger, you're not awake. If you're fighting with righteousness, you're not awake. If you're fighting and belittling others because you're superior, then you're not awake. Because awake people understand why the world is the way it is. Why do I live in balance, so to speak? Why do I live in success? Because I get why people act the way they do. I see why people do, and I see it unfolding before it even happens. And you know what? I don't judge that. That's what they have to learn. They have to go through that chaos. They have to go through those belief systems in order for them to grow. And even though they may look at me and say, Miss Raina's a quack, that's okay, because in their soul evolution, they aren't there yet. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing bad about that. There's no judgment, because I was there once too, and so were you. But now that you're waking up a little bit, you still haven't. It's almost like that bratty teenager's year. You grow from child to teenage years, you know everything, parents are dumb, that's what you're going through. And so take a step back. Take a step back and look at yourself and say, well, if I'm being angry, if I call myself awake and I'm being angry and I'm fighting with righteousness, and some of you will blow me off and still continue to do what you do, and that's fine. That's part of the lessons too. I still love you. But when you do that, you're going to look at that. So, which brings us to universal truth, which is the hardest to find out. Because why is universal truth the hardest to find out? Is because we have to disown everything we believe. And then we have to find our personal truth to understand our universal truth. And that's the challenge. So let me help you guys a little bit, because we only got a few minutes left, and I'm going to kind of cut the program short. I'm not going to finish out everything I need to say today, but I want to help you a little bit, because I want to give you a couple things that are beliefs and a couple things that are universal truth, and I'm going to let things marinate. I'm going to see kind of the reaction. I want you to write into the station, and I want you to tell me what you thought about what I'm going to say. So a belief is that a God creates our lives. A universal truth is no, you create your life. You write out everything about you from the time you're born, what you look like, your lessons, who you date, what your jobs have. Another one is, belief is, we have total free will. A universal truth is no, actually everything is mostly contracted. We have very little free will. And when you understand that, sometimes that's tough to understand, but everything's pre-written. A lot of things are pre-written. Where you end up, what you say. Have you ever done something out of the clear blue and you don't know why you said it or done it or act that way, and you're just like, where did that come from? That was a contract. So how about karma? Karma punishes us, right? Karma pushes reward and punishment. No, that's a belief. True karma ties lessons in from one life to another. It allows you a lesson to be set up for something you don't understand, that you're not spiritually old enough. And when you are spiritually old enough, it ties those things in together so that you can come to an understanding with a different perception. It's not out to get you. And what about good, bad, right, wrong, positive, negative, backwards, forwards, my 5 no-nos? No, those are beliefs. When in reality, everything is lessons. Everything is perfectly written. We write our lives so well that there's no such thing as judgment. There's no such thing as good or bad. But because we have these ideas, we view these things, and that's what creates our disharmony. Universal truth is true, regardless of what we think, regardless of what we believe. No matter what, it's true. But a lot of people will say, truth is tough. Truth is hard. I don't want to go through that. And you're right. It is a lot of pain. It is a lot of suffering. It is a lot of things that, that you're going to find that's very tough, that you're going to have a lot of self-rejection. You're going to have a lot of self-fighting. And those are the things it is. But balance, there's no such thing. And we're going to get into that next show because, we're running out of time. But yeah, we're going to get into why balance is no such thing in a little bit. So if you want to find out your truth, if you want to find out what universal truth is, you must get past what it is that's holding you there. And you must get into looking for you. If you want to find success, then find out what's stopping you and find out the difference between the universal laws of truth and belief. All right, everybody, that is tonight's show. I want to thank you for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Please write in, feel free, and be open and honest with me. That's the only way we all grow and learn. If you want to follow us, you can follow us on our Facebook at facebook.com/Transcendental Transformation Radio Show. That's all one word. You can wait for our upload at YouTube, at our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Transcendental Transformation Radio. Follow our website at soulandspiritguide.com and sign up for the special newsletters. Follow the website for WCY.com and interact with us. Please bring in as much as possible. And if you want to write us, you can write us on the website, or you can write me personally at thelifeofraina@icloud.com. I want to thank you all for joining us, and I want you to remember to always believe in yourself, and it's not our abilities or our talents that make us who we are, but it is our choices. Thank you and have a wonderful day.